being hungry, having sleepless nights, to make sure that you are nourished, to make sure that you are protected. The reason why God has preserved you, He has some work for you. He can see the seed of greatness. If there was no seed of greatness in you, God was not going to preserve you. But the reason why God has hidden you is because He sees the potential. And God beheld the child, and God beheld you, and He saw that everything that He created and made was very good. You should not look down on yourself. That is why every day that you live, you thank God and you look forward for greater achievement, because God has preserved you for greater achievement. We are not, the Bible says, we are not being called unto wrath, but we are being called unto salvation. In other words, God has preserved you for the glory of His name. So when God, these parents of Moses, saw this boy, they were ready to go to any height to preserve this boy, because they knew this boy was not like any other boy. And within those 3 months, he was brought up, hidden in one of the chambers in their house. Amen. The parents, and I can see the mother talking to him like mothers do. Mothers, you are good at talking to your babies, even when you know they don't even understand what you're saying. When you're holding, when you are breastfeeding them, you're still talking. A mother, a parent has the power to impart this greatness. Praise the name of the Lord. To release that which God has deposited in this child. And the mother can tell you, the parent can tell you that this boy is going to be some great man, is going to be a great individual. How? I don't know. The parents of Moses, they didn't know what Moses was prepared for. But all what they knew, he was a proper child. They didn't know what he was going to become. They didn't know what he was going to do. They didn't know how he was going to realize that. But all what they knew, he was not like any other child. They knew this was a proper child. Let me tell you, a man of God may prophesy over your life. You may not understand how, you may not understand when, but remember, the God that created you, He said it was very, very good. Praise the name of the Lord. And this man called Moses, the parents saw. That is why when you come to church, nobody should look down on you. You should not permit anybody speak words that you think they are demeaning and they give you sleepless night. No. You know who you are. You know you are God. And the parents, your parents, and the church has preserved you. Hallelujah. Your spiritual parents has preserved you. Your natural parents preserved you. Because they know one day that seed will germinate. One day you'll get out of that cocoon and you'll be what God have always wanted you to be. What God created you to be. And God gave dominion, gave authority, gave charge to this man and his wife and said, rule over. And after he did that, he said, and God saw that what he had made, and he beheld, he said, it is very, very goodly. And it's very good. And the parents of Moses, they gave birth to this boy, and they held him, and they said, this is a goodly child. It's a child that is proper child. Nobody should make you look like you are lost or good for nothing. You are not good for nothing, but you are good for something. Praise the name of the Lord. You are good for? Tell your neighbor that you are good for something. But tell them again, but it is the high time you know what is that good something. That good something that you are good at or for you should now know what it is and you start doing it. Your parents have preserved you. The church has preserved you. God has preserved you because you are a goodly child. You are a proper child. So when the environment, and listen to this, Moses, and Moses, after 3 months, the parents, they say, now we have done our best. Remember, those 3 months were very important. Because at that time, in the days, for you to be known to be a child of God, every male child had to be circumcised on the 8th day. So in the process, every other ceremonial observations upon Moses was observed by the parents. They made sure that Moses knew who he was. Even as that mother who is talking to their baby boy, their baby boy or baby girl, and they don't understand what the parents are doing, I could see the parents of Moses also talking to them. You are not an Egyptian. You are an Israeli. You are a Jew. You are a child of God. You are the seed of Abraham. They were talking to this boy. You are the seed of Abraham. And they kept on praying for him. And they kept on speaking because they're saying, this is a proper child. We don't know what he is going to do. But one thing we know, he is going to be a great boy. He is going to be a great man. Praise the name of the Lord. And he ended up in Pharaoh's house. He ended up in Pharaoh's house. And he stayed there like some of us. We ended up in Egypt. Remember? Your mother brought you up. And when you felt like you're no longer a teenager, or you're a teenager now, you can do things, then you say, I'm a big man, I can make my own decisions. And you know where he ended up? He ended up in Pharaoh's house. And you know, Pharaoh is very liberal and generous. He fed Moses, took him in, make him to feel comfortable in the palace, make him even to go through the system of their learning that the Jews were not privileged to. In other words, he was making Moses to feel. Remember, the daughter of Pharaoh took over Moses when they found him at a river somewhere. And she adopted this boy and she said, this is my son. And by the way things were going, Moses was going to end up being the king or the next Pharaoh in Egypt. Him being the son of the daughter of Pharaoh. He was eligible to be the Pharaoh after the Pharaoh dies. And Moses had all this privilege. What are the things when your parents gave birth to you and say this is a goodly child and a proper child, then you left your course. You ended up in Egypt. You ended up in the world. And the world received you, entertained you, made you feel part of the world. But remember, in the seed of this proper child, in the heart of this proper child, there's a seed. There's a seed, and I said here on Sunday night, I said there is a seed in your heart that is crying, the seed of greatness that is crying, release me. Let me go. I want to get out. I want to be noticed. Even where you are, there is something that keep on telling you, you are not created to fail. You are not created to be a beggar. But we were created to have dominion, to subdue, and to rule over. And that seed is still in you. That which God said, and God beheld what he created, and he said, it is very good. And God created you to be one in charge. But you know where? What? You ended up in Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh's palace. And you were entertained, and they took you through the system, and now you feel like you are part of the system. You feel like you are part of them, and you feel like you are more privileged than everybody else. Remember, Moses started now when he was growing. Listen to this. When he was growing, he kept on wondering, why, number one, am I circumcised and the rest are not? He started narrating, he started knowing, he started asking himself questions, and inside of him there is a seed of greatness. And in Hebrews, the 11th chapter and verse number 24, the parents are not there. It is now the faith of Moses. Remember, the faith of his parents saw the greatness in him. The faith of his parents saw the potential. They knew this was not just a child, but it was a goodly child. It was a proper child. Your parents, you may be, however, 70 years old or 60 years old and 50 years old right now, but I want to remind you, Moses was 40 years old when he came to that point where he had to make a decision and let the seed of greatness come out, regardless of what he was going to miss, regardless of what he was going, the privileges he was going to detach himself from. But there was a seed, and this seed of God, it is not determined by where you are for it to survive and for it to germinate and for it to grow and bear fruits. By faith, when Moses was come to years. Now, your parents, whether it is a spiritual parents, natural parents, they sow a godly seed. They sow seed of greatness. You are not just a nobody. You are somebody, and that is why they say you're a proper child. And they preserved you, they fed you, they kept you. But they are praying that one day you'll get to know who you are. Every one of you, it is that one day your parents have been praying that one day you'll get to know who you are. God himself has been waiting that one day you will know who you are. You will know how a proper child you were when you were born. And I said, the boy that was held by the parents, and they said, behold, this is a proper child, must give birth to a man that the society will say, for sure, this is a proper man. The man that was seen, when the child that was seen, in that day they were born. Years later, they must be seen, reflecting that which was seen when they were young. That woman that you are, sister, then it has to be given birth to by the girl that your parents held and said, this is a gift, this is a proper child, this is a goodly child. They saw greatness in you. When you came to this church, the pastor of this church, he saw greatness in you. And he said, behold, this is a proper child. But the time has to come for the child to grow. And they are no longer a goodly child. They now become a goodly man, a goodly woman. How? By making a deliberate and advised decision. Deliberate and advised decision. They must make sure that they go back to where they were born or where they were created, and the parents said, and the God of heaven said, is a goodly thing. And when when he was come to ears, it was no longer his parents. It was now Moses himself. The parents are no longer there. They did their part. They nurtured the child. They fed the child. They protected the child. But the child, the Bible says in Acts, the 7th chapter and verse number 23, he is saying he was 40 years old. So 40 years old is not a boy. 40 years old is a man that now can make a decision. And when he was full 40 years old. How old are you in terms of spirituality? How old are you naturally? Are you able now to make a decision and let the boy give birth to the man? Let the girl that was there give birth to the woman that is going to be useful to the work of God, that is going to be useful and beneficial to the society. When you were born, they said, behold, this is a proper child. But that proper child should not just remain a child. The child must grow. The Bible says the young shall grow. And when they grow, then they must not drop their greatness. They must not lose their course. They must get to that level to fulfill that which God created them for. We said created for his glory, created for his honor, created for his service. Now that is what you are created for, and God said, behold, it was very good. Now can you go back there and now you start doing the same thing that you are created for? Moses was great, and remember, the parents never knew what Moses was destined for, but they knew he was destined for greatness. But they didn't know what. But now it was the time now, Moses himself, to make a decision. He knew there's something wrong somewhere, and he knew something must be done. He didn't look for somebody else to do it. He said, I am the man that is going to do it. I am the individual that is going to go back to my roots and hook up with the very reason where I was created. I hook up. I find out, why did I come to this face of the earth? Praise the name of the Lord. Listen to these things of God. When a man, you hear a man or a woman saying, I'm hustling, which is a very common statement nowadays, or word, that I'm a hustler. But anybody that is hustling is somebody who have not found their purpose. I say again, it doesn't matter what field you are in. If you are hustling, it's because you're in the wrong place. If you are hustling, it's because you have not established what is your purpose. And I said, if the world is tolerating you, then change your course. Because the world is supposed to celebrate you when you find your course. God created you to be celebrated, not to be tolerated. But when you hear men say that I am hustling, an individual saying I'm hustling, life is difficult, things are not going well for me, I want to tell you, try and go back to that child that was born and was told they are a godly child, and find out, why did God create you? As a child of God, you should be the center of the world. You should be the center of the world that is around you. You are in whatever field, whether it's in the banking industry, whatever field you are in, you're supposed to be the star. because you are light at your purpose. But if you don't find your purpose, then you'll be hustling.